Hello, good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, depending on where you are watching us. My name is Maina Jeff. I'm the social media manager somewhere at Washira Speaks, and I'm glad to be here. And, and today we have two panelists. They will introduce themselves. Timani,
Yes, Jeff. Your sound is a bit crooked. If you check that a bit, your sound is wavering kidogo. Sijui kama it's on my side or it is on your side. But anyway, how are you, Jeff? And I see we have and Odor Omondi Ogara. It just feels nice to say that name. How are you, sir?
Yes, thank you.
Timani, I'm fine.
Sorry. Yes, as I was saying, I'm doing well, and it's nice to be always back, and it's awesome to be here.
Yes. It is nice to have you back. It's been a while. We have not seen you quite either on the show or anywhere else. You've been quite elusive. It's good to see you back, Odur Omondi Ogara. Yes, Jeff, what's happening on your side? How are you?
I'm fine. We are just the floods sijui kazi zimefika huko kwenyu, but huku kwetu tunang'ang'ana, tunataka kutengeneza pia boats ziko ready. Ziko poa.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So, to begin us tonight, I want us to look at interesting development on what has been happening in the continent. Yeah, a lot has been happening within our borders and beyond. And well, these stories are ours, and we have to share them. So to kick us off, I was going through the net the other day, and I stumbled upon a very interesting tweet. It's actually a tweet from the actual the official account run by Ugandan President Museveni. So Museveni was saying that, was accusing the UN of conserving terrorism in DRC and other countries within the Sahel region. He was saying that that region has been having a lot of troubles, and it is true. We have been seeing a lot of fighting going around there in Congo, extending all the way to sometimes Burkina Faso. Those countries around there. And Museveni was saying that that kind of chaos, such as that seen in Libya, neighboring countries like Burkina Faso, Nigeria, Chad, he was saying that that chaos caused that country, in those countries, is sort of conserved by the UN, because he was saying that since the entry of the UN bodies that claim or rather purport to be fighting terrorism and to be providing humanitarian assistance, that the problem is not being solved. People are still fighting, and it's as if there are some players who are sort of pulling some strings somewhere, and for their own gain. And he specifically pointed fingers to the UN, saying it's either they are conserving terrorism or they are unwilling to end it. So what do you guys think? Do you think he's up something, or he's just bitter? What do you think, Odur?
Yes, thank you so much, Kim. My thought on the same. I think Museveni is one integral African with the Pan-African thought in perception. When you see, there was some time back, I watched him on BBC while speaking to a certain journalist, and then he was being told, why is it that for quite some time he has still held the mantle and been there for quite some time? So his response was, you let Africans be African, and you let the US be the US. That is Uncle Sam. looking into the integral part of him speaking of UN taking charge and financing terrorism, as an African myself, I believe that whatever he says is very important and impactful, being that he's been around for quite some time. You can recall the other time when sanctions were made towards Uganda in relation to him having abolished and the rule and the laws that were inputted by the Ugandan Parliament on matters LGBTQ. So when he speaks of the same, to some extent he can be speaking of this truth, but then there must be something that drove him to speak that way. So my thought is that while Museveni speaks, I think everyone should be listening. Being that Museveni has been for quite some time, everything that he says, especially in matters UN and so on and so forth, we should keenly listen to that and soldier on the way forward if at all we are Africans and we want to listen to what is true and what is behind the curtain.
Okay. I see. You say that and you reminded me of a time I was interacting with some, I think 3 weeks ago I had the privilege of meeting some two friends from Uganda. I don't know if they're watching, Odoch and the rest. So we're talking with them and one of them was very convinced that Museveni is the, if I use this word, is the papa of the East African region. So maybe he's onto something. Jeff, what do you think?
Kimani, I want to give a conclusion. I think Museveni is the one president I can say that nikiwa mdogo, even nikiambiwa ni name the presidents of Africa, I can neza sahau wa Kenya, nianze na Museveni. Ni mtu najuanga. So is the voice of the people. Museveni ni mtu think anajua ku maintain na si country yake pekee, anajua kuongelea pia watu wengine huko nje. Yeah. Na nataka kuwarudisha Kenya kidogo. I want to take you back home.
Yes, what's happening there?
Yeah, in our homeland, the land of the taxed. In Kenya, the DCI arrested suspects in the 439 million trillion USD fraud case who are trying to con the Dutch. So I was very excited about the list of the people who are arrested. Hawezi kosa Mkikuyu. Kitu ya kwanza nilinotice. I think when tunaendelea hivi overtake Nigerians kwa kuscam watu. Jambieni thoughts zenu. What are your thoughts about this?
This is very interesting. I the first time I saw this story, I thought it was 439 million USD. I had no idea it was 439 trillion. I think that is a little bit above the budget of almost the world, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, people are having deals worth 439 trillion USD when the rest of us are sleeping. Honestly, first of all, I feel sorry for myself that I was not part of the deal. Not that I would have wished to be part of the deal, but yeah, people are working hard out here to scam others. Of course, I'm not trying to entertain whatever it is they're doing. But I know this was the first case. A while ago, we witnessed some. Actually, not a while ago. I think there have been more than 3 cases of some Kenyan people arrested trying to scam other people. I remember there was a time there was a guy who was arrested trying to scam some Saudi Arabian sheikh or prince, I don't know, of some gold scam. Yeah. I know we see these stories every day, but this one is sort of the close of it all. Odor, what do you think? You have been away. Are you part of this? And they just didn't find your photo, or what do you think?
Yes. Yeah, I saw this before I delved deeper into the one for DTI. I can remember the other one, the 94 million scam that took place a little bit over 2 weeks ago when we saw the guys from the Pago company having stolen 94 million. And surprisingly, one was caught. One of them was caught in a bar. So you tend to begin. Why is it that? Yes, I'm not promoting this. Why is it that I would steal such an amount of money that I go to a bar to enjoy myself? Why? Why would I? With this harsh economic times, so it won't talk well with someone like me going to that. On the same. Most of the money was also stashed in jerrycan and stuff. So it looked how do you call it? Too much native. why would you steal 94 million? If I would have been the person in that position, I would be in another world currently, working with such an amount. On this, Kenya's DCIRS suspects in 439 trillion USD fraud case. I did look at this, and sincerely speaking, even the global GDP itself for the financial year 2023-2024 is not 439 trillion dollars. So I think it's more overrated that even the Dutch themselves, those who are concerned and even cornered these men, they need to also be asked questions. Why is it that a company or a bank has been taken in an African country, and yet you also begin in this that you're being given the custom levy to be $3,600 for you to input your signature and also provide the same. So it looks rather weird that it's only these 8 suspects who are being brought to book, but even the Dutch themselves, they need to be brought to book for why is it that they agreed to pay the $36,000 for the customs to be stamped and so on and so forth, for the money to be given to them. Another thing that took place in the recent time was the national tree planting holiday that we had. Apart from the fraud case, we did look at Kenya incorporated another holiday. Growing up, we see that holidays have not been there in the month of November. But apparently, this time round, the government decided that we need a national tree planting holiday. Its prospect in the next roughly 10 years is 1.5 billion trees to be planted. But now, with the resources that have been put in place, 100 million trees were. My question to the same would be, what is the way forward for the trees now to nurture themselves? Wangari Maathai herself spoke of it, that for a tree to be planted, it has to be nurtured. By nurturing, it means it has to be watered. By being watered, it has to be taken care of to maturation. So, being that these trees were already planted, yet imagine we had a holiday. Resources were put in place. I saw some cabinet secretaries, one planting one tree in Mombasa and taking an aeroplane going back to Kisumu and planting another tree. So most resources were put in place that some cabinet secretaries were even given more than 3 counties to plant just a single tree in the presence of the media. The way forward for this, are we as Kenyans, are we going to nurture the trees to maturation for them to be trees that are worthwhile in the next generation that the president spoke of? Yet they went to, I think, Makueni. They were in Makueni. They were in Makueni County, having planted the trees therein. But now the problem is, are they going to be nurtured with the resources that have taken place? As we are going to nurture the trees to maturation for them to reach the 1.5 billion trees that are expected in the next 10 years. Yes, thank you.
Agree. Yes, I agree. I agree that that attempt by the Kenyan government it's something quite to applaud and appreciate. I was reading an article the other day that said, actually not the other day, I think I was around in first year. We were doing something called a carbon footprint, and it's simply trying to calculate the amount of carbon that a human being emits, and of course, this carbon is what contributes to issues such as global warming. And the takeaway was, for human being, for you to sort of reabsorb all the carbon you've released into the world, you need to plant at least 200 trees. So yeah, that's an interesting fact. So I don't know whether Jeff has planted 200 trees. I might just planted one and decided to leave it like that. Jeff, did you plant a tree?
I got a chance to plant a tree somewhere. Nilikuwa nimeenda mbegu, but niliendea kwa chief. I want to question, mbona hakuifanya ikue, mbona aliweka on a weekday, mbona hakufanya ikue weekend? Again, like a spare card. Alafu, I have a question. The problem is not planting the trees. The actual problem is preserving the trees. Tunaweza kuwa tunapanda miti, but unapanda moja, siku nyingine tunakata 5. So I want to question the government. I think kuna vitu watuambie, labda anataka kutushtua, labda next week tasikia mafuta imepanda 400, anataka kuwafunika macho. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, but I want to respond quickly to whatever you asked. I'm not sure about. I was discussing with someone about why the government is, encourage people to plant trees, and apparently, I think there is a program for trying to follow up on how those trees are nurtured. I think that you're supposed to. I think you're supposed to register like as a group, plant a number of trees, and you update your progress. And I think you're supposed to get a token or something, or maybe a certificate. I think if you follow up with the Ministry of Agriculture, they might have more comprehensive information. Now, switching gears, moving on to Liberia rather. So there have been an interesting development. It is sad that this has to be said. It is interesting because we are in Africa. So there was an election recently. Since I think it is the last election in there was in 2017. So there was a recent election. And the former president, even might call him former, Liberia President George Weah, on Friday conceded that he has been defeated by his opposition, one Joseph Boakai. I'm not sure if I'm mentioning that right, after the election. And it is interesting that one, he considered defeat, but he's conceding defeat and our coming to discuss that it is a good thing sort of speaks volume. Yeah, we do not see that every day, even here in our country. It has been a while since we saw. I'm not even sure it has ever happened. We've never seen an opposition leader, or rather the runners up. Yeah, conceding defeat. Do you think this is a new trajectory for Africa? Jeff and Odur. Let's start with Odur.
Yes, indeed. I think this is a new trajectory that Kenya needs to emulate. Kenya needs to emulate that once we're defeated, let us accept our fate. And both have been counted because I think Liberia itself, they went for a rerun for 51% to be garnered by the opposition chief. So that was a runoff ballot that took place, and after the runoff is when that is Joseph Boakai did win the general elections. So going forward, as Africans and African countries, we need to accept defeat when defeat is there and concede it. I saw online people arguing that why is this that George Weah he did not go to a national television, yet he only chose a local radio station to announce his defeat. So, what do you expect the incumbent president to do? So, it varies with the mode of communication. If every now and again the State of Nation address is done by the president at the State House or White House in place, then when the deputy has been considered, then a national, not only a television, radio station needs to be done, but also the national television. But I think that was a very wide goal that need to have sunk on us. Going forward, as Kenya itself, we need to also emulate from Liberia that once we are defeated, we need to accept. Now the problem will be how to garner the cost that took place in the runoff. Going forward, I think the current president, that is the president-elect, he needs to strategize on the ways of bringing back the economy, since they had used roughly 56 billion for both elections, that is the first and the runoff. So it needs to be cooperated. I'm not saying that Liberia is not a strong economy, but then they need to strategize on ways to bring back the economy to stand. Thank you.
Okay. I want to add about George Weah. Although I've heard you have mentioned that he is a professional footballer, he got a chance to win the Ballon d'Or. That's an amazing thing for Africa. And about conceding defeat, unlike here in Kenya, there's somebody somewhere who's waiting still for the server to be opened. They are still in negotiation. I want to take you back to Gambia. In Gambia, about 70 children have died overtaking toxic medicine due to the syrup. I think the syrup medicine was not investigated by the government. Now the parents in Gambia are suing the government and the drug maker who is in India for killing their children. What do you think about this? Imani?
Oh yeah, that is quite a sad, a sad event to see that the bodies that we expect to to provide safety for our children in terms of health, in terms of all other aspects, are the same bodies that are resulting in in such mass casualties. It's a sad event. I sincerely hope that justice will be found, and of course I like to think that there are some steps missed in either the preparation or design or administration of these drugs. And I really hope that the people responsible will be held to account because we're talking about human life here. And since you cannot go back and apologize for taking someone's life, I really hope that the people responsible will be taken into account.
Yes, thank you so much. I think yes, the children have already died, about 70, and the syrups themselves. It needs the government together with India, the drug manufacturing company that made the syrup. They need to yes, compensation cannot be done and bring back their life, but they need to be brought to the book. Now the problem is the government that needs to fight for the rights of the parents is the same government being sued. So my question would be: will justice be served to the parents of the 70 children with the state apparatus that are in place? So that is the problem they are in. So compensation needs to be done, and the company itself, the drug manufacturing company, needs to be washed away from ever making drugs in that country. That is Gabon. Going forward, the same closer to them, I saw the Malawian president did abolish state travels for the cabinet and also for himself. With the question, most of these, I think, African countries, Kenya needs to emulate from them. In the recent past, that is roughly 13 years ago, most African countries they emulated things from Kenya, but this time around, Kenya itself is digressing from this. So I saw that is we call him the Pathfinder himself, Lazarus Chakwera. Did abolish and imposed, let us use that, he imposed a ban on himself and the cabinet from traveling abroad, and in the aim of reducing the cost and working on the ailing economy of Malawi. This came as a result of having received, I think, $175 from IMF for helping them working on the issue. Now coming to ours, this is our country, Kenya. I need to also speak about it. So our president this night, as we speak, it's about 40 minutes past 8. As we speak, our one and only is on his way to Germany, and then in the prospective days, he will proceed to France to help us fund our country that is also ailing. So I think we need to emulate from that is Pathfinder Lazarus and find ways in which we can work on our economy as Kenya. What do you think about it, Kim?
Yeah. I saw that in a tweet. I saw that ban on a tweet, and there was someone who was sarcastic enough to say that that the next day our president, the one and only, will jet there to congratulate him on his good ban. And it was quite a good laugh because he's placed a ban on himself, and now someone is insinuating that our president will go there and congratulate. Will take his plane and go there to congratulate him on that ban. Anyway, I understand where that sarcasm is coming from. We've been seeing a lot of journeys by our own presidents. Jetting around the country and not another country, the world. I saw the government spokesman saying that we should give him 2 years and he'll be delivering. And I still do not understand why a country with such resources is jetting to look for money. Yeah, I understand that, yes, perhaps certain debts have to be taken, but I like to think that if Toto is as smart as his doctorate insinuates he is, then he's more than capable to take the country out of the pit it is without having to borrow around. Yeah, and yes, we have a lot to learn from there. And speaking of jetting and apologies and zoos. There have been development in Ghana about a certain summit. The summit, I think it is called. I think it's called ACCR. I think it is Accra Reparation Conference. So it was a summit that was held. I think it was held on Thursday. It was, of course, involving members of course, the Ghanaian, officials. There were some officials from the UN, and of course, other global leaders. And the summit was trying to look for reparation for the African slaves who were, taken from Africa and, taken to, they were grabbed from Africa and taken to other countries, and, abused for slavery and, working in the plantations. And this summit was trying to see if they can find some reparation and some form of, compensation for these slaves. That is justice that is coming after. I think slavery was happened between 16th and the 19th century. So that justice is someone is trying to look for that justice now. I think it's a good move if it is actually goes through. But I hate to say this. I really hate to say this, but I think that the social impact of slavery was much more worse than its economic impact. Yeah, Africa sort of began seeing herself as a loser, as a country, as a continent that has to beg on its knees. Yeah, going back to the topic you're just discussing, our president going to look for money from Western and European countries. I think that slavery sort of placed us as lesser human beings. And I think that if we were to forgive these people for whatever it is they did and to move forward, I think it would place us in our right minds, in our right minds that we can erase that notion that we are lesser human beings and soldier on. Things happen. Yes, they did bad. I think it is time for Africa to, or other Africans to, take the higher, be the bigger person, because clinging on that hope for compensation, like the other day when King Charles was here, someone was expecting him to apologize for the atrocities committed here. And I think it is time that we stop clinging to this, whatever it is that happened, and move on, because we might not be able to do all that justice. But if this one is successful, it is okay for people to receive what they are owed, but it's also time for us to, dust ourselves and start work without, over relying on Western influence and aid. Jeff, what do you think about this?
Okay, Kimani. I think the main beneficiaries, the people who feel what wanafaa kuwa compensated, they are not here. That's the truth. But the slavery brought more negative impacts than positive impacts. They were integrated. You see, people lost their cultures, their diversity, and sasa tumefika place tunaweza jitegemea. Sasa hiyo ni mambo ilishapita. Acha tuendelee tu. Mambo ya kucompensate ishapita, tuachane nayo. Kwa sawa.
Something tells me you want to disagree. What do you think?
I want to summarize on the same. I agree with Jeff to some extent. You'll find that the freedom fighters who are there, those who succumbed to slavery, most of them are not around, sincerely speaking. I recently saw it also in Kenya when the king was around. Everyone was claiming we want the head of our own, we want reparation to be done, compensation to those who fought for us. Well, you'll find like people like people are engaged, who is still alive today. Most of the things they've been fighting for this, but there was an agreement that took place roughly, I think, 2008 between the Prime Minister then and the UK government, and about, I think, 15 billion was given to Kenya to help in that. So going down to the families of the various people who were chosen in Mau themselves, you find that the money that they got was roughly 300,000. This could not bring back to life their parents and so on and so forth, the freedom fighters themselves, and also could not sustain the families that were brought after the freedom fighters had left. So on this preparation summit that took place in Ghana, the delegates therein, the reasons why I agree with them, they agreed to establish, I think because of Castle's establish a global reparation fund. So this was to push for overdue of the compensation they were supposed to be getting. Now, why is it that they want to put a fund for themselves to help in pushing this for their own people? Why can't they just go to the French colony and tell them, yes, this is the amount that you put and so on and so forth, so that you get this money, and it goes to the people themselves? Why create a fund? This will be used for politics and so on and so forth, and this money will be mismanaged because we've been in Africa for quite some time, and we know whatever these guys do, and so on and so forth. So, but changing gears and leaving Ghana on the other side, I saw recently also South Africa itself. South Africa filed a, a petition to the ICC, that is in The Hague, for an investigation to illegal activities that were done by Israel, looking into Israel atrocities that the fight between Philistine and Israel, the atrocities that were taken that is in Gaza. There are a lot of injustices that took place. Ramaphosa recently spoke of it and said that these guys, yes, they are claiming they're fighting for their boundaries and they're fighting for their rights, but when you look at what Hamas is doing and what Israel has decided to do, most injustices are there. Then this led to Ramaphosa wanting to cut diplomatic ties with Israel itself. I think most countries need to stand with, let me not say Palestine, but we need to stand for the truth, because to some extent, when these things are looked deeper into, and you find the historical injustices that Israel has done to the Philistines, you'll find that these things are just wars that are created because of the injustices that are affecting the Philistines. So I agree with Cyril Ramaphosa in asking the ICC to help in finding if at all there are illegal things that Israel is doing as an injustice to the Philistines, that is Hamas in Gaza. But now the problem is it really going to be hastened? Because as time goes by, more lives are being lost, more people are dying, more property is being destroyed, and most young boys are being killed because of the effects of failed leadership that is in Israel and Palestine. What do you think about it, Ja?
Okay. I think it's so sad. I've seen parents from Gaza carrying their children who are dead. They are innocent children. I think this is a grudge that has been happening between Israel and Gaza. It's so linked to the earlier war with the Hamas, who engaged the war to Israel. I think Israel are now trying to revenge it, which is not a positive thing. It's affecting families, businesses, and the government, the world, even us, our economy. Yeah. That's...
Just
Thank you,
give me
Zeb.
your
Yes, yes. In response to this, I think that whatever it is, I think this move by Ramaphosa is quite it's quite an interesting one. I think it is the right move because we've been seeing whatever has been happening there, and the truth is that none of us can sit and say that the destruction and loss of lives that is going on there is a good thing. It's not a good thing. But on the other side, that you've been having a lot of controversy spewing around, some saying that the Western media is sort of inclined in reporting a certain direction, saying that the atrocities allegedly committed by Israel are the only ones which are being aired, and those ones are being committed by Hamas are not aired. And there's no real way of knowing what's happening there unless someone has the guts to to go and investigate. And I think that this move by Ramaphosa to impose bans and refer Israel to the ICC, I think there'll be perhaps a body to investigate this, which will be very objective and to realize what's going on. And we are actually going to see the truth of the matter. And perhaps the responsible parties will be held to account, because I've been seeing certain countries and people protesting, saying they stand with Palestine, and certain governments, making statements saying they condemn what's happening. Yes, you may condemn that, but those are just words, yeah, and the war cannot be fought by words, and it cannot be stopped by words. I think this is a good move. Perhaps there will be some light, and whatever it is that is going wrong will be corrected. And lastly, this is an interesting one. I was not saving the last for for geeks, but this is an interesting one. So there's something very interesting going on in Senegal, but it's not as interesting because it is sort of the norm in African countries, starting Senegal. We have seen, I think I've seen that also in Uganda several times. I've also seen that in I think in Mozambique during the era of President Mugabe. So what happens is the opposition leader in Senegal, one Ousmane Sonko. What he did, he was in prison. Yes, he was in prison because he has been convicted of charges of corrupting the youth. I think earlier this year, and as a protest to that conviction, he's being sent to jail. He decided to go on a hunger strike. Yeah, and I think that went overboard, and he was hospitalized. So a while ago, his physicians had him, taken from prison to undergo medical treatment. It was, all over the news. But once he recovered, he's been sent back to jail once again. And this is coming as, the Supreme Court for that country is yet to determine whether he's has been cleared to run for election. And there's a lot of politics going on here. It's not very clear whether his arrest and his conviction and his being sent to jail is genuine or it is just a political move. And well, this is Africa, and the monkey business between the president incumbent and an opposition. It is not something we've not seen before. But I don't know. Dol, what do you think? Do you think it was right for him to be? This guy goes for hunger strike to protest for something. He gets sick. He's sent to hospital after he recovers. Like they treat him and then take him back to prison. What's happening here? What do you think, Abdul?
This is a cat and rat mouse chess game. This guy Sonko is very wise, and just to add on what you say, during the 1 week hunger strike that took place, he dissolved his party. After dissolving his party, he stated that he was admitted for emergency care at a hospital that was in Dakar. But Senegal is just a happy country like Uganda and Kenya, where opposition leaders have been facing a lot of strikes. But this guy, going back to his history, he was charged to 2 years imprisonment, having been acquitted of charges of raping a certain woman who did work as massage in a massage parlors. Wale, how do you call them? Those who massage the guests, and he had made threats to the lady, and this led to him being inputted as a corrupt leader, and also was sentenced to 2 years imprisonment, as I've said, which ignited daily protest across the country. So Africa is ours, and Africa still remains our business. The problem is he will be out soon. Be rest assured, this is Africa. He will be out soon, and once he will be out, don't be shocked when he also buy sooner when the elections for Senegal will be out. So Sonko is one. Sonko is one hell of a person. He reminds me of our Sonko here in Kenya. I see the attributes that they face, both of them. They look more common, but he is one that looks more weird in a sense that he does things to please his people, and also he has a very good number of followers.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, can I take you now to Nigeria? We have talked about negative things today. Let me give you a positive feedback today. In Nigeria, there is a woman called Helen Williams. She has set a world record for the longest handmade wig. She made the handmade wig within 11 days, and she only used $2,500. In Nigeria this year, they have been setting world records from Basil Hildad, the woman who may set the world record, but she was outthrown for the longest cooking hours. Rema, a good song writer and producer, The song for Calm Down got a Grammy Awards. That's positive things. Despite our brothers from Nigeria being set all records for scamming, they have positive feedback. What can you say about that? And I want from both of you to tell me which Guinness World Record you will be breaking this year. Mine is I will be sleeping. I don't know if I will wake up, but I will try.
That's a good one. I think this is an interesting development, and I saw when she posted when this photo was began circulating in the internet. I saw someone saying that the media will be in her hair for quite some time. I don't know whether it was someone trying to be very sarcastic. So I really do not have a Guinness record yet that I want to break. Maybe perhaps I really do not have one, but it's been interesting. It's been interesting a week. A lot has been happening. It's been quite interesting. Africa being Africa as always. Odor, what Guinness World Record do you want to break?
I can see even the one for wigs look. I'll have to look for another one that is simpler, because this one for wig really made my day, since it looks rather simple. So we will do simple things. Maybe I'll look for sewing a shoe without using the pin itself, so that I break the Guinness World Record. The first man to ever sew a shoe without using the pin, without using the Uzi itself. Those are things we look for, simple things, so that we break Guinness World Record. As Jeff was stated, this year we need to give Nigeria what it deserves. That is a pat on their back. They've won a lot of Guinness Book of Records, and it has really made Africa to be on top of the map in the global spectrum. As a person going forward, we need to rethink what is the impact of Guinness World of Records to Africa itself in relation to other continents, and what is the benefit of appearing in the Guinness Book of Records as one who has made an adjustment to a certain spectrum and towards bringing Africa itself to the global spectrum and to its position as at now. So thank you.
Thank you. You know, as you're saying that, it reminded me of this chef friend of mine who I don't know, he was the last time I checked, he was trying to apply to see if it is a record. So this guy has been attempting to cook ugali by first cooking the unga itself. I'll follow up with him and check if he has made the world record. I want to see if it is something to go by. That's just on a side note. It's been interesting to be here. It's been a while. I'm glad to be here. Jeff, what final remarks you have for us?
My final comments are I have an idea. I've never shaved my eyebrows. I think I've broken that record. Okay. I think it's been a wonderful show. I hope to see you next time.
Yeah, it's been interesting to have you guys. Udor, thank you for being around. Jeff, thank you for showing up. I will not thank myself. It's been interesting to have you around.
Here to remind you